Hi, my name is Julia, and this is my story. Currently at this season of life, I'm a wedding photographer in the Portland area, and I'm also a college instructor at Oregon State University. If you would have asked me what I wanted to be as a child, I would have told you a brain surgeon. If you would have asked me what I wanted to be 10 years ago, I would have told you an Olympian as a track athlete. 6 years ago, I would have told you a dietitian, helping people with their diets. But in the last 4 years, God's really flipped my world upside down and put new identities into my life to help reflect His image. He's really shown me that everything that I wanted to be might not have been what He wanted to be, and He's really created new identities in me. I'm playing Pokemon Go. Gotta catch them all. I am so close. I'm not sure what it's called because I never played Pokemon when I was a kid. It's funny because I'm kind of into it now and I never thought I would get into it this late in the game. I am so close though. I really hope I catch one. Guys, there's one right here. There's one right here. Yes!
It's got 10 Pokeballs.
Gotcha.
Got him.
I feel awesome. Like I just leveled up to level 3. Pretty soon I'll be on level 5 and I'll be able to join the red team.
Yes!
I grew up in a Christian home. My family, they were part of the pastoral staff at a local church, and so I was a pastor's kid, and I met the Lord very early on in my life. I immediately fell in love with Jesus, and I wanted everybody to know Him, and so naturally, as a child, I would tell everybody about the Lord. I remember that middle school was a really sweet time in my life where I was just being used by God. And during that time, there was one verse that really stood out to me, and that was, "Don't let others look down on you because you are young." And so in middle school, I actually started a Bible study. And every Wednesday, 5 to 30 people would show up. And of course, I'd bring donuts, and I would give a teaching about a story in the Bible. This was a really sweet time in my life because I really felt like I had an undivided heart for the Lord and that I was reaching people to be used by Him. And Jesus was my full identity. However, when I went on into high school and college, I really felt the battle that was waging war against my identity in Christ. During that time, I struggled a lot with comparing myself to other girls in my high school. I was kind of known as the track athlete. I never had a problem with competing in track, and I often came in first and second. I made varsity team my freshman year in high school. But as high school went on, I found myself getting slower and slower. And instead of giving that up to God, I really allowed that to kind of eat away at me, and I started comparing myself to the other athletes. And I never measured up in my own mind. That's what I was pouring myself into. I was devoting all my time to track, and I just found myself falling short of my expectations, and that was really hard. We were in the hat shop on 23rd. I come here often to try on hats because I have a slight obsession with hats. My mom always teases me about having so many hats because I have like 10 in my room right now. I don't own this one, but I really like it and I want to. I was a cheerleader in high school, and I thought that I would do cheerleading in college, but then those plans changed, and I also had, just the normal struggles in high school of comparing yourself to other people, and as I compared myself to girls, I would often find that I wasn't pretty enough or skinny enough or the best at this or the smartest in this subject. And I always found myself feeling unfulfilled as I poured myself into these other identities that weren't Christ. This kind of carried on into college, but I remember there was this one day, and I was running on the treadmill at school. This was in college, and the Lord spoke to me. It's funny because the Lord often speaks to me in the mundane routines of life, and this was just one instance where I really heard His still small voice clearly speaking to me. And as I was running on that treadmill, God said, "Julia, you're running and trying to keep up with everyone, but you're not getting anywhere unless you find your identity in me." And it was in that moment that I broke down and just started sobbing because God had spoke to me telling me that the most important thing was that my identity was focused on Christ and not focused on these other things that I had been striving after. After I heard the Lord speak to me that one day, I decided that I wanted to get baptized. And so I went up to Little North Fork near Mount Hood with some of my closest family members and friends. And I remember I was baptized that day, and I just really felt the Lord's presence in my life. I remember the first lesson he taught me after I was baptized, and that was to make sure that I was living by the fruit of the Spirit. It was something so simple. It's something that I was taught in Sunday school, but during those years when I was striving after the world and striving after these identities that weren't in Christ, I had forgotten a lot about what the Lord had taught me growing up. I'd become a selfish person. I'd become a prideful person, and that wasn't the person that I ever wanted to be. I remember as I was focusing on those fruit of the Spirit, I devoted a fruit of the Spirit for each week. And so this was an 8-week process for me. And so obviously the first week, I focused on loving those around me, loving myself, loving God, loving those who are hard to love. And the next week I focused on patience, and the next week I focused on peace. And what I learned during those 8 weeks was that the Lord will give me whatever I need to get through this life. He'll give me peace when I feel like it's hard to have peace. He'll give me joy when I'm going through difficult situations, or when I hear bad news, I can still have that deep-rooted joy. He gives me patience when it's hard to have patience. And I'm just so thankful that I have been pouring into the Lord ever since then. I was baptized when I was 20, and ever since I was baptized, rather than holding on to the identities in my life, I really opened up my hands and I've said, God, create in me what you want to create in me. And during that time, He's given me 2 things that I never thought I would become. I never saw myself as a creative person, but God's given me photography. And I never saw myself as a teacher, but God's told me that I'm going to teach college students. I think that He's given me these things to show me that it's not in my own power, but it's in His power, and to always remind me that it's Him working inside me and that it's not me. This has been so transformative in my life, because every day that I wake up to photograph people, or every day that I step into the classroom, I'm reminded of how good God is, and I'm reminded that His ways are so much better than my ways. And right now, I'm in a season of life where there's a lot of unknowns. I'm now 26, and I just opened up a photography studio. I just bought a house, but I don't know where God will have me in a year. God's really taught me to hold on to things loosely. If photography was gone tomorrow, if I woke up tomorrow and was fired from my job of teaching, which I don't think is going to happen, but if it was, I would know that it's all right, because God's leading my life, and God's putting His identity in my life. And that's my deepest desire and my strongest desire, is to be known by God and to know Him, and to have my identity rooted in Christ. Oh, I'm super close. Yes.
Do you have one on radar?
Oh, so on radar.
Oh, don't waste all your Pokeballs.
Dang it, I'm not good at throwing these. Are you kidding me right now? Ugh, am I gonna waste all my Pokeballs? Who thought that tons of Pokemon would be at church? I don't know which way to walk. Nope, getting farther away.
There.
Babe, let me help you. We're working through this together.
This is exactly what I'm doing.
Maybe try closing out the app and getting back in it, because they should be right here.